Later in this episode, Stacey will tell us how she went from $500,000 in debt to a 7-figure business. What do you look for in changing your marketing and changing your operations?
Ryan, what I want your audience to know is that I've been down all the paths and started a business from scratch. After 10 years, it was sort of like, well, what's my next?
Hello and welcome to the Fractional Executive Podcast. My name is Ryan Kauth and I'm your host. The Fractional Executive Podcast is for established founders and family enterprise owners with businesses under $10 million in annual revenue and are currently stuck on a plateau of no growth. Now, in order to help you grow your business and get it off that terrible no growth plateau, we need to get more great guests like Stacey coming up here on this podcast. To do that, please help us grow the show by sharing the podcast, like, subscribe, follow the podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. This helps us grow the podcast, get great guests, and helps you grow your business. We also want this to be interactive. Please leave comments and feedback and reach out to us, contact the show, and I'll answer your business growth questions right here on the show. Today we have Stacey Riska with us. She's our guest. She's known as Small Business Stacey, and her weekly newsletter, You Got This, has hundreds of subscribers who need a good measure of insights, inspiration, and even a little tough love to get you moving to that next level. She owns a number of Maui-Wowi Hawaiian coffees and smoothies locations and trucks in the DC area. She has a serial entrepreneur nature to her because she is one, but she started as a solopreneur. And she is founding a small business marketing firm, a catering consulting business, and a back office support organization. She started in membership and marketing for an association, and she's now doing work as a certified franchise consultant. So please welcome Stacey to the podcast. Welcome, Stacey.
Oh my gosh, Ryan, thank you so much. You know, it's so funny because as business owners, as solopreneurs, we always are looking forward, right? What's next? What's next? And as you just did that intro, it made me actually look back and realize all I've accomplished. I would encourage your audience to do the same. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I had to make that bio a lot shorter than I probably could have. So, I only have one piece of paper. I limit myself here for questions and bio. Stacey, as a serial entrepreneur, and again, starting as that solopreneur, you founded several businesses. So marketing and operations really well based on those businesses that you started. You're a founder who seems to be stuck on a current plateau of no growth. What do you look for in changing your marketing and changing your operations?
Ryan, what I want your audience to know is that I've been down all the paths. So I actually started where most people do in a job. I had the 9-to-5 and then got the entrepreneurial itch and started a business from scratch, doing outsourcing and back office work for associations and nonprofits. It grew quickly and successfully, so much so that I actually ended up buying 2 more businesses along the way. And then after 10 years, it was sort of like, well, what's my next? I sold it all, had my midlife crisis, and decided that my next was going to be working behind a tiki bar serving umbrella drinks. The Maui-Wowi franchise, which you mentioned that I still own today, 17 years later. Through all of that, what I've realized is that both marketing and operations are really important to any business of any size. For operations, it's not really my skill set. What I tell people is do what you do best and outsource the rest. You cannot possibly be good at everything in a business. So pick your lane, stay in it, and swim like an Olympic athlete, right? Because that's going to help your business move forward. When it comes to marketing, I encourage my clients to follow the advice in my book, Small Business Marketing Made Easy, where I lay out the 5 simple steps that anybody can take to get their marketing into action, literally and figuratively. Because here's the reality. Most people, when they think about marketing, they just want to follow what everybody else is doing. The best advice that I have found is actually to zig when others are zagging. And that has actually worked really well for me.
Yeah. See, Stacey, I didn't even include the book in your bio because I said I had to shorten it. So there's some proof right there. That was one I should have put in there, though, or should have left in. Now, you've owned Maui-Wowi for nearly 20 years, right? And if you had to start that business today, what might you have done differently back then?
Oh my. Well, over 17 years, I've certainly learned many lessons, but the most important ones I learned in the beginning. Because, Ryan, here's what happened. I grew way too fast. And by the end of my first year in business, I'm embarrassed to say, but I was $500,000 in debt. Almost lost it all. My home, my business, my family. But I was able to transform that. And in 2 years, by doing marketing and focusing on what I do best, I was able to transform that business from $500,000 in debt to a 7-figure profitable business. And the advice that I would give to your audience is there's a saying that I have: gross is for vanity, net is for sanity. Gross is for vanity, net is for sanity. And, today I have a much smaller Maui-Wowi business, but it's super, super profitable. I don't care about the gross. I only care about the net. So look at your bottom line. And sometimes growing bigger and faster isn't always the best thing for your business.
Yeah, Stacey, that's a really good point in that a lot of entrepreneurial folks really look at that top line, and that's where it's growing, right? And that kind of feeds the ego. But the important thing really is, like you said, that bottom line. So no, that's fantastic. And again, I think sometimes we lose our focus on what the real focus is. You were a marketing executive before you were a strategic founder and CEO. And so going from solopreneur to the visionary entrepreneur that you are now, what was the most challenging aspect for you of going from that functional marketing executive to that strategic visionary CEO?
What I found to be most challenging as a solopreneur is that 1 is the loneliest number. When you're feeling stuck and in the mud and you don't know where to go or who to talk to or what resources are out there for help, 1 can really be the loneliest number. For me, that's a lot of the reason why I looked at franchising, because you have a team, you have a whole brand that is actually committed to your success. And imagine that, having a pool of not only resources that give you buying power and marketing and a proven system. That's why I'm so passionate about franchising. It's just such a great model, whether somebody wants to come in and start a business themselves. That's something to consider. If you have a business, it actually may be a way to consider growing and scaling, or it actually may be a model that you may want to consider snapping on to what you're currently doing. I have a lot of candidates who are small business owners who will reach out to me who actually want to look at franchising as a way to diversify or actually build something so that they have a sellable asset or build it as their retirement or legacy. Everybody really has a different reason and their own reason, what I call a why, for why they want to own their business. But franchising is a great way to do that because, as I say, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Stacey, that's great. The reason this podcast exists is to help everyone do that, right? And so in order for us to grow the show and have great guests on here like Stacey that will help you grow your business, we really would ask that you like, follow, and subscribe the podcast. In addition, leave us a 5-star review and share the podcast. And again, we want this to be interactive, so please drop comments, send us feedback, and contact the show. And again, if you contact us here, I'll get your questions answered right here on the show about your business growth. If you're stuck on that plateau of no growth, or like in Stacey's case, am I growing too fast and should I be doing something different? Stacey, you mentioned before when we were talking before the podcast about a mastermind group and some of the other things that you did to kind of decrease that solopreneur feeling. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Ryan, as I just said, one can be the loneliest number. And the way that I got out of my rut where my business was stagnant and plateaued, I realized that I had to invest in myself. And the two ways I did that was coaching was one of them, working with somebody who would really kind of kick me in the rump, and two, invest in a mastermind. And I found that to be such a valuable investment because sometimes things that are so clear, we think they're clear as an owner or a CEO or a founder, right? Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. Well, I brought something up to my mastermind group that I thought I was pretty clear on. And the whole room was like, what are you thinking about? I call it my bitch slap moment because after they brought it to my attention, I was like, why didn't I think about that? So investing in a coach who can help you see roadblocks that you may not be aware of, and a mastermind where other people are supporting you and challenging you and really helping you to think of different things that you may not have ever thought about that can make a huge impact on your business. Two investments that are very worthwhile.
Yeah, Stacey, I think that's a really important thing to talk about. Obviously, I'm a coach, so I have some bias here. But I actually do have my clients being part of formal peer groups, or as you were talking about, a mastermind group. And I think that's really helpful because the research shows that entrepreneurs learn best from other entrepreneurs. They don't learn best from their coach. They don't learn best from taking a class. I used to teach, and I would even tell my students that. You're going to learn best from other entrepreneurs. So thanks. I'm really glad we talked about that. So I guess let's just go to your nickname, Stacey. They don't call you Small Business Stacey for nothing. I mean, what's the best part for you when you're consulting with small business owners or future small business owners?
Well, I have to give my son credit for the nickname. We were sitting around the table one day, of course, talking business. And he's like, Mom, you're so passionate about business. I'm just going to call you Small Business Stacey. And it stuck. So that then became my nickname, Small Business Stacey. I really am passionate about helping small business owners grow and succeed and really build the business and the life that they want. And it's so important because a lot of times when you start a business, you have one idea of what that business is going to look like. And then as you grow and scale, sometimes it can't be what you initially envisioned. Sometimes you have to get out of your way and realize that, hey, maybe it's time to move on. That happened to me when I was building my outsourcing business. After 10 years, I realized I had two project managers in place who were really running the day-to-day. And I missed the hands-on. I wanted something where I could be more actively involved in the day-to-day. But I knew that ultimately wasn't the way to grow my business. So I made the intentional decision that it was time for me to exit. And that's why I ended up selling it for a handsome profit, had my midlife crisis, and then went down the path of franchising. And I'm so glad that I did, because today, helping people learn about and explore franchising, that's where my real passion is, because here's a stat that your audience may not know and may be disappointing to know. But the reality is that 9 out of 10 businesses that start from scratch fail by year 5. That's like dismal. Whereas with franchising, 9 out of 10 are still in business by year 5. So that's why today I help people learn about and explore franchising. Because, Ryan, the reality is nobody wakes up today and says, hey, I want to buy a franchise. But you know what? A lot of people are really curious about it. So I help them learn about it, explore the different options, and if it makes sense for them, then I match them to concepts that could be a really great fit.
Stacey, if we could stay there for just a little bit longer, that concept where every small business owner is going to be on a plateau of no growth. And maybe the decision is this business shouldn't grow any longer because for various reasons, right? It could be, I want to do something different. Talk a little bit more about that decision that you made. And I'm sure you've talked about that with other small business owners as well.
Yes. And you know what? There's actually two routes you can go. So you may realize that your business is stagnant and it's plateaued, and it might be time for you to exit. If you kind of notice that, then you may want to take the path that I did and explore selling it, bringing in the right people to do it. But I want to challenge your audience to think about maybe your business is one that could be franchised. A lot of people reach out to me and don't really know a lot about franchising, but they feel that they have a really great product or service. And you might be surprised to know that a lot of the franchises, some of the most successful ones out there, start as solopreneurs. Heck, look at McDonald's. It was, a single burger stand that grew into this gigantic franchise organization. So many of the franchise concepts that I work with, they were little family-owned businesses at one time. And their strategy was to franchise it, to grow and scale. And now they're able to build a lifestyle business where they get royalties and they get a lot of enjoyment from seeing their brand being built and grown all over the country and even internationally.
Stacey, I've really enjoyed having you on the podcast. You've brought a lot of value to our listeners. And so what I want to do now is give you a chance to talk to our viewers and listeners. How can they get a hold of you? And talk about some of the projects that you're working on.
What's my next, huh?
That's right.
Well, I'm not quite ready to sit on the couch eating bonbons, but I have made an intentional decision that I really want a lifestyle business. And so that's what I'm doing more of now. I'm doing coaching and consulting and helping people learn about and explore franchise ownership. And if it makes sense for them, I'll help them figure out their skills, interests, resources, and passion, and match them to businesses that could be a really great fit. And when I'm not doing that, I really love being outdoors. I just got an e-bike, so love going camping and e-biking. And heck, you got to have some chocolate and red wine to go with it. So that's kind of what my next entails.
I love it. Stacey, how can our listeners and viewers get a hold of you?
My home base is really my website, which is www.nextlevelfranchisegroup.com, www.nextlevelfranchisegroup.com. And I'm most active on LinkedIn. You can find me there by searching Stacey, Stacey, Cohen, Cohen, Riska, Riska. I would love to connect with you and continue the conversation.
Stacey, again, thanks so much for being on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Ryan, and all you're doing to support small businesses.
The Fractional Executive podcast is produced by Mark Livingston, Adam Marino, Chris Dries, and Brian Allen for Influencer.tv. And you can get a hold of me. I'm your host, Ryan Kauth, at ryankauth.coach.